So this is at the back of this book. It's the Holy Land of Scotland, a lost chapter in the Gospel of the Grail tradition. So I'm, even though nobody's confirmed it, and I don't think anybody will in the world we live in because people would just try to steal it, I think it's safe to say that the MacLeod clan has the Holy Grail. They have the cup that Jesus drank in the Last Supper. Not just that, John of Arthamia, who came to, he had taken that same cup and had gotten some of Jesus's blood when Jesus was hanging on the cross. I'm not sure why. But that's, and he was sort of that group of he was the Chaldees, which were first, they were a fraternity, but they were refugees too that were seeking asylum in England and Scotland. And interesting to note, the Catholic Church loves to say that they were the first church. No, it looks like what history says is that Scotland was. It's because it says here, it is of interest to note that in their book, The Temple and the Lodge. Oh, and by the way, this picture, the reason I'm showing it is it's some Indian painter that created this in like the 1980s and said that Jesus is more Celtic rather than Middle Eastern, Jewish, or Arabian. I don't think it matters. I mean, they've made so many different pictures of Jesus. I could care less what color he is. I'm just showing it because it's at the back of this book. But in this book, it says the temple, and in the book, The Temple and the Lodge, they showed that place names written into the early Grail romance, the early Grail romance, can be identified specifically with certain topographical locations in Scotland, including Galloway with its possible 1st century AD Celto-Christian connections. The discovery at Whitehorn, Galloway, of the stone known as the PETERS stone seems to afford some support to the statements of these early writers. It is a rude pillar some 4 feet high and 5 inches wide. An inscription in it in Roman capital letters says the place of St. Peter the Apostle. St. Peter would be therefore to the people of Britain a refugee from Rome in the reign of Claudius AD 4154, arriving in Britain a few years after the arrival of the Judean refugees, which were considered the certain strangers, who came from Palestine, it says, in the last year of Tiberius. And it also says here, and people will write this off, but that would be a big mistake when you look in. I mean, some of it, yeah, we don't know for sure, but yeah, you got to have common sense. It is possible that Scotland may have been part of an ancient Atlantis that was never submerged at the time of the cataclysmic flood. The cutoff point may be marked by the Firths of Forth and Clyde, whereas the lands to the south in England and Wales geographically appear to have arisen much later. The Scottish Highlands are known geographically to be far older than the Himalayas and the Andes, and the Scots geologist Hugh Miller claimed that the rock strata on the Black Isle near Inverness is among the oldest recorded on the planet Earth. The author of Notes on the Early History of Scotland states that Albion was considered to be a distinct island from Britain, as Scotland north of the Forth was then supposed to be. It seems doubtful if the name Albion was ever applied to the country south of the Forth. So some of that, you take, but the Chaldees, as I said in my last video, they were the people. They were pushed out because of the Roman Empire. It's the Roman Catholic Church, because the Roman Empire came in, and it's very simple to put together here. The Roman Empire could not kill the Holy Spirit spreading to people, so they had to become the church. So it's the same thing. The Roman Empire took over Scotland, and then but they couldn't take over all of it, and so they tried to change their traditions. Then after enough generations, you get people believing the Catholic Church knows what they're talking about, and really they don't, which is why their history is nothing full of being wrong about so many things and child abuse. That's what happens. By the 12th century, the Chaldees, which was, as I said in my last video, the Bethany group originally. The Chaldee movement faced challenges as Scotland's church shifted towards Rome under Queen Margaret and her sons. Many Chaldee houses vanished, replaced by regular canons, or extinguished with cathedral chapters. The Chaldees persisted at St. Andrews until 1332, forming a small college closely tied to the bishop and the king. So it appears some of the culture that Rome was not able to get rid of entirely. Yeah, Scotland ruled by Rome in 81 AD. It was in 71 AD where it is listed on the Bible line time chart with world history when the Roman army began to arrive in Scotland and established a powerful empire that lasted until the year 213. According to historians, this period in Scotland history was complex in nature, although the Roman Empire had a significant impact on Scotland's history. I guess they were the ones that named them Caledonia, I read. This sect, and I might be saying it wrong, it may not be Chaldees, it may be Saldees. What that means is servants or worshipers of gods. Their primary devotional ritual was deep and abiding devotion to God, characterized by prayer, contemplation, and a commitment to living a simple, virtuous life. Yeah, I mean, I should have been born a Scot, because I totally would agree with what their lifestyle was when it came to the Bible. They believed in a personal relationship, which is what I've been saying. So they were the ones that had it right. The Roman Empire, which became the Roman Catholic Church, made sure to get it all wrong so people would be led astray, which is what Jesus said this place would do. When the Romans arrived at the Britain province, they named the land that was found on its northern part as Caledonia. They introduced their culture to the Scottish people, yet the original settlers in the part of Scotland did not entirely adopt the Romans' way of life. And I think it's safe to say, although nobody will confirm it, and as I said before, nobody will ever confirm it, because this world would just make it a nightmare for the MacLeod clan, I'm sure, is I believe they probably have the Holy Grail. I think that they go so far back, and the fairy flag, all of that, that's where God wanted it to be, until the time when it should be known that yes, this is the reason. So likely that's the reason Donald Trump is very protected. His line comes from all this. So they have a vault. This is from the MacLeod church vault. Yeah, they have different ones. It just talks about these different areas all over Scotland. I mean, their history goes back to way back. So the evidence is there for that. It was likely all handed down to them after the resurrection. So this is just talking about one of the MacLeod churches. And then let's not forget, and this has a connection to Trump, but I cannot find anything about why this church in Scotland is named this. Yeah, the history behind it is it's a burnt down church. What's left of it is still there. It was a battle, but it was actually just a total massacre of the MacLeod clan. All of them died, except for one girl that climbed out a window. The MacDonalds came up on shore, and all of the MacLeod clan was in church. This is what's left of it. You can visit it if you're in Scotland. And they burnt the place, and one girl got away. She ran up to Dunvegan Castle, told the clan, and they went to go get them, and the MacDonalds thought they'd have enough time to get away, but luckily the tide came in and took all their boats, so they were trapped. The MacLeods killed all of them. But why is it named Trump in Church? I have no idea. Strange.